Everybody want to rise for the pledge of allegiance? You got to. Stands one nation under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay. So, I guess first thing on the agenda is the from April 6th. Want to make a motion?
So moved.
Are you hearing me?
I'll second.
Yep. So
You're still very broken up, Betsy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know what. Any opposed? Any opposed? Can everybody hear me?
You're a little broken up, Betsy.
Yeah, we get about half of what you say.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Can you get closer to your
Am I
router? Or?
broken up? Mine's right here. Close? I'm where I always go.
Well, what can I say?
Is that any better?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit better? Okay.
Much better. Yeah.
So, oh, it is. That's kind of weird. Okay. I just have to grab my agenda. I'm sorry, folks. Okay.
I'm kind of.
So we approved the minutes. Everyone's in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So carried. So we're public comment again this evening. Unless has board members heard from anybody that has anything they'd like to say?
No.
I have not.
Nobody. Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and move on. I see Jim. Sorry, Nancy.
No, I was gonna say, Karen
Jim
McComb called
Hammond
me
is
today.
on.
Karen McComb called me today to make sure that, that information on the new trustee and, employee change was gonna be discussed, and I was just looking down at the agenda, and I see library report. Is that what that's under?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, I would just like to mention, I see Jim Hammond from Camp of the Woods, President and Executive Director. I had him to come on about his reopen project. Well, sorry, Jim, are you on? Can anybody hear me?
Okay, I'll do a check-in. I couldn't hear you, Betsy, but I think you told me to go ahead. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Before you start, Jim, Betsy, I wonder if you sign off and back on, if that might help?
You think? So
Yeah.
next meeting?
You wanna give it a try?
Sure. Jim, you go ahead, Jim, and you can start.
Okay, or I can wait. I'm a patient man.
You might have to be real patient. Maybe if she cut her video off and just use her audio too.
I don't know, she's still there. You still there, Betsy?
He's frozen in time.
Yeah. Forever.
Neil, you dapper like always.
He looks very comfortable.
I'm always comfortable, Doc. Betsy had mentioned that perhaps our next meeting may even be in the library if all went well. I volunteered for distancing purposes to sit in those easy chairs.
How good of you, Neil.
One of those aren't taken by me.
Oh, I'm just taking one for the team, gang.
Betsy is back, but there's no picture now.
Here,
Well, maybe,
now I can see myself.
here it comes.
That,
Here it comes.
Yeah.
How's it
Is
going,
that
Betsy?
Betsy?
I'm starting to see everybody again. Can you all hear?
Breaking up
This
again.
is terrible.
Guy cutting your video off, just talking.
I don't know why. I did that. Okay, how about that? Is that working?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is it
Better.
working?
Yes.
Is that better?
yes.
Okay. So we'll go from there. Okay, Jim, I'm sorry. Can you start?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can. Thank you, first of all, Betsy, for your invite. This is the first one of these meetings I've ever been to. I've been here 15 years, and I've never been to one before, so I feel privileged to be here. Betsy and I talked a couple weeks ago. I just felt that both Betsy and Jeanette, I was trying to keep them both up to speed on kind of what was going on with camp ever since March. And actually, Betsy, I had not done a very good job keeping her up to date, so I'm definitely glad that tonight I'll be able to update the whole the group here. So the first thing I think is important. I think there's lots of different information out there. So a few things I'm just going to say to clarify what we've actually been doing since March, when this whole COVID-19 got kind of announced on us all. I was actually down in Atlanta, Georgia when it got announced. I flew right home. And actually, 2 days before Governor Cuomo shut down businesses like ours, I had actually already canceled all the conferences for that coming weekend because I saw they were coming from an area that was one of the areas that was high risk at the time. So we right away canceled all operations at Camp of the Woods to start actually before we were directed to. And I'm glad we did because 2 days later, it got canceled anyway. It was a lot easier to do it earlier than late, if you know what I mean. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we've had no groups or any guests of any type since March. We've been totally shut down 100%. Little minor maintenance here and there. We've had, I think in one night we had 13 water breaks that last weekend when we had that, whatever it was, 28 degrees. So we've had little things we had to fix. I also, as many of you know, we have, I think our number now is 23 or 24 different apartments that we have for our staff that live up here year-round. Since March, I've also directed them that there would be no out-of-town visitors that would come and stay in their quarters. I was trying to support Jeanette's email and Erica Mahoney's, I guess it was a letter, not email. They sent out asking for people to self-quarantine for 14 days. So I said no temporary visitors, and if they did, somebody did come up and visit with them, they needed to quarantine for those 14 days to be safe. So that's kind of where we've been. As far as how we're moving forward, we have our, I don't know, some of you might be familiar how our system works within the state and within the health department. There's two things that have to happen. We have to get our operating permit from the health department, which we did get. And then this year with COVID-19, there's a special requirement for us to present a business/operation plan to the senior managers of both Hamilton County Health and the regional health director up in Saranac Lake. I did that this morning, and I'll be, actually my assistant, I think, is trying to get both Betsy and Jeanette on the call for tomorrow sometime so I can give the same presentation to them tomorrow. I did present this morning to, let's see, Bill Farber was there, Erica Mahoney, I think you know who Erica is as well. She's up in Indian Lake. She's the director of the Hamilton County Health Department. Carl Abrams was there, and Kristen Sayers, maybe you not know her. She is the district director for the New York State Health Department. Those are the four people I presented to this morning. I presented them a 100% COVID-19 compliant operations plan. I covered everything from healthcare to how we'll in-process our staff, how we'll in-process our guests, how they'll be monitored throughout their stay here, how we'll handle the housing, modified housekeeping processes we have, very modified food service. We will be having no, which is a big deal for us, no chapel services that are going to be group. I just felt that was too high a risk to have large groups of people meeting in areas, even if we could figure out how to do it social distance wise. I didn't think it was a smart thing to do. So right now, we said until the end of July, we're going to keep all of our meetings virtual. I will keep an eye on how the North Country is going as far as what phase we go into. And if we go into phase 4 by the end of July, I might decide, I might make the decision to go ahead and have a live speaker, but we would limit our Tibbetts Auditorium, which some of you have been in, I think. That seats just a little over 1,300 people, but we will limit that to 300 people per meeting, just to really make sure we keep the social distancing in place. Also, we will not be having any kids club this summer at all. I could not figure out how to manage a bunch of rugrats and keep them to stay 6 feet apart. For as much as we tried to figure that out, and I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't know you all that well. I'm sorry. No, please apologize. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. We have 4 kids and 9 grandkids, so I think I'm allowed to say rugrats. But we just couldn't figure out. We tried and kept thinking through of how we would be able to manage a children's program, and we just decided we couldn't do it. It would just be impossible. This is not out to the public yet. It'll be out to the public on Wednesday. But we did also decide to close Camp Tapawingo, which is our girls' camp. So that will not be open this summer. That was another one. Our director, Joy Houston, came out with an outstanding plan on how to incorporate it and how to be COVID-19, but compatible and compliant. But I just couldn't gain confidence, which having 80 girls on a 2-acre island, and convince myself that we could do social distancing in that. So actually last Friday, a lot of tears involved in that decision for Joy, but we decided not to open Tapawingo this summer. She will be running her CIT program, which is a training program, but that's only for 16 girls instead of whole 72 or 74 a week we normally do. So that meeting went well with the I had this morning. It went well, and even Carl behaved himself. And Carl and I, we got to talk about turkey hunt for a few minutes. So that was fun. But we had a good meeting. Really no issues, or had a couple good qualification questions, especially Kristen about some health type things which I didn't have in the presentation, which I was able to answer for her. I think it went well. A couple other things cleared. I'm not going to go into all the details of this plan because I'm literally going to brief Betsy and Jeanette on it in detail when I get to them. And it takes about 45 minutes to go through that presentation, and I will give them a hard copy. So after I present to them, and if you all decide you want me to put on the agenda for longer time, I'd be glad to come back and give that same presentation to this group or to anybody else you recommend. To be honest with you, to me, the more information, most correct information out there, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm very available to present to anybody you'd like me to. But a couple things I know, some specific concerns that both Betsy and Jeanette have individually concerned me. One was, how are we handling incoming staff that will be working at Camp of the Woods this summer? So the first part of that is they do a survey before they come here. It's called a COVID-19 survey. They fill that out. Then they come here to camp and we take their temperature when they first get here. They fill out the survey again. Then they're in process through our medical team. And then they will be quarantined for 14 days. All the staff that get here, we are not letting them come into town for 14 days. If they have an emergency or want a Yoo-hoo or whatever, I guess they don't make Yoo-hoo anymore, whatever. They want something from uptown, one of our staff will run up there and get it for them. But they are told they will not leave the grounds for the first 14 days. We actually got our first crew of 20-some staff came in yesterday. They were in brief this way. They're here to do maintenance and construction work at Camp Ready. It's actually not the same crew that'll be here this summer. It's a separate crew that we hire every May. So they were in process yesterday. They know they'll be staying on the grounds for the first 2 weeks they're here. They're only here for 3 weeks. So the third week they're here, they will be allowed to leave the grounds, but they've been very clearly presented what the social distancing requirements are. We give each of them a mask, a face mask to wear if they do decide to go into town. But I'm not sure if any of them will. But anyway, I think that's important because I think there's been a lot of, and rightfully so, by the way, a lot of questions on how we would handle these. Typically, we hire about 400 college kids every summer. This year, we're only going to be at about 180. We're not hiring a full staff because one of the things that we're opening up on, the last thing I wanted to say tonight, is to be actually with my business hat on, you know, that's got a lot of zeros behind it, revenue driven and all those things. I probably could have figured out a way to run a full Camp of the Woods session this summer and be COVID-19, but I just couldn't do it in my own heart. I just couldn't really figure out how to run a conservative, as least risk as possible anyway, COVID-19 program at Camp of the Woods. So I did a lot of reading over the last couple of weeks and a lot of best practices that I saw both in the hotel industry and restaurants industry and a lot of these states that have been opened up early. If you probably, like me, saw a lot of these places opened up at what they're calling 50% of capacity. I studied that for a little while and looked at our different capacity. I looked at our main chapel capacity, our meeting rooms. I looked at our dining rooms, and I looked at our total number of beds. I thought the most conservative way to calculate our capacity was with our dining hall, because that's our 2 dining halls. That's actually the smallest number. So if you take our 2 dining halls and take about 40% of what we can feed in the 2 dining halls, it's about 450 people that will have here eating in our dining halls. And then we have 22 efficiencies, which cook on their own. They will not be eating in the dining hall, which is about another 100 people. So we'll be around, 550 to 600 people, depending on how many are in each family a week this summer. And that's well less than half of our throughput we normally have. So that's, Betsy, that's what I had. You gave me 5 minutes. I think I took 7. I'm sorry, but I hope.
Yes, you did. I just want to thank you for taking the time and coming and explaining it. And I'm just hoping that a lot of people are listening and understand all the steps that you're taking to keep everybody safe. And let's just hope we get through this quicker than we anticipate. Thank you, Jim.
And I look forward to briefing you and Jeanette later this week. I'm going to sign off, if that's okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Jim.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Great job.
Thank
Have a great night.
you too. Okay. So next is Randy, Highways.
Okay, so I'll start where we left off with the tennis courts. Don wanted to have a committee meeting about it, so Don and I and Betsy met today at the tennis courts, and we looked them over. We decided that definitely when you're from Elm Lake Road, the eastern non-regulation court has enough cracks in it and separations that we need to close that till the render some sort of miracle cure for it. It is now locked. The one to the right, which is the western towards the Four Corners, the regulation size we left open. We're going to try to see if we can get some of the cracks filled, but they're on the same level, so they're not a tripping hazard. There's a couple divots and such, which I'm not sure if we can do anything with, but I'll do some research and go from there. Anything else you want to add, Don?
No, you got it pretty much.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, are we gonna put the nets up or?
Yes. According to the email I got from Betsy, we are allowed to have tennis courts, correct, Betsy?
Yes, I got that
Okay.
this afternoon.
So the 3 tennis courts will be the 2 at the county and the 1 at Elm Lake Road will be open tomorrow. The next thing, Betsy, myself, Jeanette, Allison, Buckley from DEC, and Sean, I forgot his name, from DEC, Allison's boss, met in a Zoom meeting actually it wasn't a Zoom meeting, it was a DEC presentation for the bike trails. We came up with a, plan to, my part was to find the old maps, which I did, Jeanette. I have them on my computer. I can download them and send them. I haven't had a minute to switch them over. So And DEC is going to, I guess, when I get those to them, they're going to process, was it Jeanette? We were going to let them process another TRP so we can do maintenance on the trails?
We were going to come back to them with a plan and then tell them what we wanted to do, and then the first step would be to apply for a TRP.
Okay, so I skipped the part that we're gonna come back to them with a plan. So the plan being that Laura O'Brien is going to GPS the quote unquote new or revised trail after the logging and lay the two on top of each other, and hopefully they're similar. If they are, then DEC will probably let us do the maintenance on that. But if they are out of whack, then it might be more complicated. And Lime Timber has to get involved in this and say, yes, you can continue doing this, because it is their land.
Yeah, if I can just clarify that, Randy, Laura O'Brien and a team of people are going to identify the areas that are damaged in the existing loop first.
Okay,
And identify what those areas are, and then to speak with you and with the village to see what can be fixed. And then also speak with Lime Timber with the larger plan to see
Right.
what can be done to protect it.
right. Because we don't want to spend a lot of time, money, effort, volunteer time fixing something if next summer they're going to come in and log it again, or, you know, you skid through it, or all of the above. That being said, I'll move on to the next one.
Got a question.
Okay.
Is that just including the paper company land in Speculator, the Speculator Tree Farm? Or is that going to be a Burkett's Clearing way too?
Well, right now we're working on the Speculator Loop, which was the loop that behind Oak Mountain.
Yeah.
That went over,
Brister Brook.
yeah, Brister Brooks going over to Elm Lake Road.
Right.
So that's what we're starting to resurrect.
Okay.
Perkins Clearing is easy to fix. As soon as they open the roads, you just put the signs up and go on the roads.
Right.
But right now, there's a lot of roads that are not open up there, so.
But I think I mentioned that when we were working on those bridges and stuff on Big Brook, Swan Lake, they were designing them to be bicycle friendly too, mountain bike friendly. I was just wondering if in the future those trails will be incorporated into maybe a more challenging bike route.
Well, it would definitely be more challenging. Due to the last two times in the summertime I've walked it with Nick, the forester that's in charge of that section from DEC, and I've been up to my waist in water in several of those spots because the beaver have flooded several of the trails, in which every year we have to extricate the dam. I use that word. So that is that would be a very challenging area to keep open. Let's put it to say the least. We've extended some of the bridges to take care of the flooding problems, but they massively moved into the Fawn Lake Trail. Willis Fly Bridge is typically 3 feet underwater in the summertime.
Okay.
Any other questions? So, Perkins Clearing, now that we brought that up. It is still closed on the mountain in the middle. I hope to have that section open for the weekend. It's Mud Lake Road is open, and up to Pillsbury Mountain Trailhead is open for the state. They have closed, barricaded off from there up the Pillsbury Trail because there is a huge washout in that. So they're asking everybody to park at Sled Harbor and walk in, which is another quarter of a mile walk. But that is, you know, if you're going hiking, I guess you're going to go another quarter of a mile. So that's the long and short of Perkins Clearing. We did start repairing it. We are keeping track of all the money that we're spending for FEMA. as I told you before, we're gonna submit it as a completed project, and then I didn't want to do it this way, beg for them to pay for it, but the number of people and concerns about not opening that, I decided we had to do something. So they, being George and Tony from the state Department of Homeland Security, gave me a very descriptive way of proving what we spent, proving the time we spent, and what the conditions were before we started. And then GPS to everything. It took me almost 2.5 days of their total to get all the pictures and get all the GPS coordinates, which I still don't have all of them. And now today they threw in another little batch that I have to go actually hold a tape measure up to the end of each culvert that we replaced to show the size of the culvert. So that's tomorrow morning's job. It sounds stupid, but yeah, I guess it's proof of what size I put in there.
That you put in or you're going to put in?
That we did put in.
Okay.
We have all the culverts in place right now. Now we are just repairing the roads and the washouts. We ran out of stone and materials, so that's what our trucks have been hauling today and last Thursday, getting it to here. So hopefully Hamilton or Perkins Claren Road will be open completely for the holiday weekend. It'll be late Thursday because Wednesday everybody's going to be doing the trash pickup. So it'll be late Thursday that it opens up completely.
I have to say, Randy, that I drove in both ways night before last, and it all looks excellent. Did a great job on it.
Thank you. Up to that point of the hill.
Right. I didn't try and go over the stone piles.
So other FEMA work, Page Street, people are asking when that's getting fixed. The current plan is June 3rd. Gorman Group is going to come in and grind the section that is marked out that we had washouts in. They're going to grind the rest of the blacktop, and we're going to roll it and then let it sit for at least 2 weeks. That to get everything compacted down, and then we're going to come in and pave it. So that's Page Street, and I should have said this before, Old Page Hill Road. We had a little bit of washouts, the road that we just topped last summer. So those two are going to get ground next.
Does Raymond Page know about this?
Probably
Please.
not. I'm sure he'll have comments.
That's why I was wondering whether you could educate him first.
No.
Damn it.
And the next one on my list is Hamilton Lake Road. We are working on a very, very descriptive plan. I talked to you that they want to do virtual tours of that road, or of the roads, and that is impossible being that it's no cell service over there. So we are in the process of doing a very, very descriptive plan to them. We've Google Earth and GPS, being that we're not super duper military / whatever, GPS coordinates are within 40 feet. Well, when you're trying to measure 50 feet and you're 40 feet off, it has a problem. So we're trying our best to nail down each little section of the road. Sometimes it comes out that it's 10 feet in the woods, according to Google Earth, and they're trying to say that there'll be understanding of that I'm not actually building a new road through the woods. So the blacktop company has gotten me all the quotes for that repair, and we have a lot of, on the dirt section, a lot of dirt work that everything we put in pretty much has to come back out because it was
Washed out.
recycled gravel, is what I have been trained to say. It was,
What's that?
which is nothing more than ditch dirt. but we can't say that, according to FEMA. It's recycled gravel. So that's Hamilton Lake Road. We are prospectively the third week of June going to start working on that if I get the approval for the project from FEMA. Boat wash station is been summarized and placed down at the parking lot south of town. The fencing has been moved down there, so I assume Betsy has notified the Sacandagas, Lake Pleasant Sacandagas Association. Is that true, Betsy?
Yes, and Mr. He was in to thank her down there, and he's gonna put it's up Thursday. Do you
Okay.
hear me?
No.
Barely heard you, but
Can you hear me?
what I think is you told them, and this Thursday they're going to go down and assemble it.
Hear me? Yes, they are. Yes.
Okay. If anybody is moving on from there, unless anybody has questions about any of that. Library steps is the next on my agenda here. We removed the old steps, we put in columns, and they built the platform. We are now trying to find anti-slip, traction, whatever, Trex decking, and or an assembly of. Trex does not a anti-slip or slip-proof or whatever type of decking. So I've been told by 2 companies now today. So if anybody knows of any companies that makes the Trex decking style type composite decking that has anti-slip on it or built into it, please give me the company name. So I
Brandy, excuse me, the companies who told you that they don't make that, have they offered solution like the appliques?
No, they decide for what we already did, which is ridiculous, is to staple on the paper, and that's not where we want to go with this.
No,
I don't
of course
think.
not.
So I'm doing some research. We're going to continue soon. It probably won't be this week, but next week we're going to continue building it, everything, and then be able to slide the decking underneath the railings and screw them down. So we're going to continue working on it. It's just I gotta do some more homework trying to find a company that actually builds composite decking that's anti-slip. It's got to be out there. There's gangplanks on these ships and boats and everything else that
Sure.
somebody built it.
Fix it. I get this Old House magazine, and a couple issues ago, I was reading about anti-slip Trex decking. So I'll dig it up.
Yeah, because both of them said they went on their websites and talked to their reps, and it's not there. So
That doesn't make sense.
no, it doesn't.
Curtis Lumber, not to do anything commercial for them, but I understand they're a Trex dealership, so perhaps
they
they
are.
know of.
I will give them a call. I called 2 of their competitors today. So, but yeah, if you, Chris, find anything, let me know.
I will.
Okay.
I'll let you know if I don't find anything.
Okay. Next thing is Fish Mountain Cemetery, the gateway. I don't know if any of you have been over to Fish Mountain Cemetery in the last year or so.
The stonework.
Yes.
But the stonework is crumbling, and this past winter it really crumbled.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm pursuing. I think what we should do is ask for someone to. I mean, I'll get at least 1 or 2 quotes from a mason to redo them. Does anybody have any other ideas?
That you do.
No, it's got to be fixed.
Sure.
I mean, do you think it has to,
It's not,
do you think it
it's
has
not
to
a
be,
5-minute job to fix.
do you think it has to be as big as or as elaborate as it was? I mean, can we kind of taper it down a little bit, do you think, or did you want to just go with the same size?
I would think we should do it out of respect to whoever built it the first time. We should keep it the same as it was.
I
My
agree.
personal opinion.
Just a thought, Randy, could that, the different layers be rebuilt and redesigned a little bit? And put some of the stick-on stone on it?
Yeah, until you get to the top where it's all tapered in.
Yeah, that's what I mean, redesign the top a little bit. Just a thought, make it look a little more presentable. Maybe a little more weatherproof too.
Right. I don't know what year they were built, but they've lasted a long time, but it's been 3 or 4 years that they're falling apart now. And that last winter was pretty horrible.
Yeah, it's a mess now.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you want to go with a different style, or, I mean, I kind of got to know before I go get prices.
I think that we should, and like you said, Randy, respect the historical value of them. It's been there a long time.
Sure. I agree,
If
Chris.
there's some way that it can be built and, basically look almost the same, but with what I guess what Don is saying is putting stone on in such a way that it sheds water. Is that what you're going after?
Yeah, it can be built to shed water too, but it's gonna be hard to match it to make it look like it does now.
Well,
It's disintegrated, and I don't think you're gonna get any of the stone that you can match it with.
Well, I would say they're going to strip the stone work off of it. I'm betting that the inside of it is block.
Yeah,
And then it's this stonework wrapped around it. And that stone is, I mean, we may have to go to Vermont or wherever, cut stone, places to get the stone. But
what type of stone is it? I've never noticed.
it's like a gray,
Like
almost
a,
like a field stone. I don't know if it came out of Rhodes's
like a river stone.
area
Mhm.
out there or what, when that quarry was, cutting out there.
Sounds like something we should, as you said to begin with, have a couple of masons give us a look. I think, they would have maybe better ideas than would we.
Right.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, and then we go from there. I mean, that's obviously, if it's astronomical, we'll have to figure out what we're gonna do with it.
Sure.
So the last thing, I hate to bring up another sore spot, but we still have no mechanic applications that qualify. What do we want to do? Because it's getting closer and closer to that September date that we're not going to have a mechanic. So option one is continue at advertising like we are, or B, take on someone that's not qualified for what we're advertising for. Obviously, would not be paying at the rate that we offered, at least in the beginning, and teach them. Train them. If we have to get a CDL, then so be it. If we have to teach them the mechanics part of it, then we have to do that. But we're getting down to 3 months. I think.
Randy, couple of questions.
Yep.
I had no contact with Malcolm. Is this a drop dead date? Is it negotiable? Is it something that he would reconsider staying longer?
I'm pretty sure it's drop dead, but I'll ask him again. I haven't asked him in the last couple of weeks, but
Oh, well, but pretty recently.
yeah, it's pretty much but I'll ask him again.
Okay.
I asked him about 3 weeks ago, and he said, no, he was retiring, that's it.
Okay.
yeah, I talked to him too the other day.
See? Everybody's been talking.
They were trying.
There's your answer, Neil.
It seems pretty,
When I worked for the newspaper, there was an outfit called the New York Press Association. And you could, for a very reasonable price, book ads to run statewide or region-wide. And they went into every single weekly that are members of the Press Association. If you want, find out if they're still offering that service. It might be something we want to think of. They had
It's very much worth a try, Chris.
if I remember correctly, it had a readership of over 200,000 the last I looked, but I'm out of date on that, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's in all those weeklies, I bet that number is certainly they'd hit that.
Yeah, it's pretty high, yeah.
Yeah, weeklies all over. I don't think we can't quit on it yet.
Okay. We will let Chris do her magic.
Yeah,
Go
but
from there.
Okay, is that it, Rand, for you?
That's it.
Okay, so you, Rick, Samantha, you want to speak, or did you fall asleep?
I'm here. I'm good. Okay. Well, we're not knowing exactly what's going on. I mean, I have a basic outline of what I would normally do without trips, but I don't know exactly if summer school is going to happen, what they're going to do. So I don't really know exactly where to go from here just yet with summer rec stuff. I mean, have you heard anything about whether they're going to do summer school and what they're going to try to do for the kids or anything yet?
I've not heard.
No word.
I mean, because basically with the trips, I don't think they're going to be opening anything anytime soon for us to be able to do the normal trips. So what I want to do is more like local trips, have them learn more about the town. The bike trails are opening up, but I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be able to do and when yet. So that's all still up in the air. The only other thing that I can think of is because with the chance that we're not going to be able to do anything, I still have quite a bit of a budget to be able to use. So I was thinking of, with everything going on with these poor graduates, they're not getting anything, is maybe doing something for them. I had a few ideas, but I don't know exactly how it's going to be allowed to do what we're going to be able to do. I mean, as of right now, I know the graduates, I'm not sure how many seniors we have because we have Wells, Broad Alvin, Johnstown from the town of Lake Pleasant. There are 4 7th graders that will be graduating from Lake Pleasant to go to whichever high school they have chosen. And there are 10 kindergartners that are graduating. So I have 2 ideas. The first idea is maybe at the end of June, I was thinking maybe June 27th is a Sunday, doing something called a social distance commencement to go cookout for them. Where we would do like a traditional like cookout with hammers, hot dogs, salads, coleslaw, baked beans, and drinks. I need like pre-orders of exactly what everybody wants and have it done. And I'm not sure exactly where we'll do it, how social distancing will be at that point. And then charge a small amount to be able to recoup some of it. And with this idea is getting each graduate a gift. With the 7th graders and the seniors in high school, getting them a $50 gift certificate to be able to get their supplies for the next year. And then like the kindergartners doing like a small goodie bag with stuff that they would need for next year or something they can do over the summer depending on what goes on. The other idea with this socially distant commencement to go out was going and talking to the local restaurants like the Oxbow, the Inn, Logan's, Charlie John's, Mountain Market, Oak Mountain, Melody, and seeing if they can give us prices or if they'd be interested in doing a donation towards the graduates. Because I know a lot of them have either nieces, nephews, or kids that will be graduating at some level. And then maybe going and talking to Casey at the camp store. And I know a lot of them are like Wells for their seniors kids to sign some signs, but like doing signs for the Lake Pleasant kids.
giving them a recognition. I mean, they've worked hard. This was a drastic change for everybody to be cut off, and they've worked very hard for what they have done, and are still working hard. So I don't know what.
Samantha, can I ask you a question? You've mentioned a couple times 7th graders
Yes.
graduating. From where are they graduating?
From Lake Pleasant. Lake Pleasant no longer graduates at 9th grade. It's either 7th or 8th. I'm pretty sure it's 7th grade. That they graduate.
I think it's eight.
It's gotta be 8.
Oh, maybe it's 8th grade. I know they changed it. I wasn't sure what level because I know some of it
Okay.
changed.
Yeah, I mean, because these other schools that they go to don't start till 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, that was it. I just wanted to clarify that.
Either way, there's only 4 of them this year.
Is anyone doing signs? I've seen in some of the towns where they have signs, some have pictures of the graduate on the sign, or, you know.
I know Wells has done some, and went past Laura O'Connor's, and I know she has a bunch of stuff. His son is graduating from Johnstown.
Is that what you meant about going to Casey for signs?
Yeah, like signs for like the 8th graders and kindergartners. Just give them some kind of recognition if we're not going to be able to do this, to give them the acknowledgement of all they've accomplished throughout.
Might be fun to do a graduate parade.
You know, they're doing something Friday for the kids, like the fire departments are.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's for everybody, it's not just the graduates, but.
Another thing you could think of doing in the sign thing is where they put the Christmas tree up in the major scene. Put some signs up there and, you know, some decorations and just make it look festive with their pictures and names and congratulations.
Well,
Something like that would be cute.
That's
a
I think it'd be better conglomerated like that as opposed to having signs all over town that are, you know, some of those roads are 50-mile-an-hour roads. You go right by them. Good idea, Don.
It's a good idea.
What are your ideas on the to-go cookout? I mean, would it be something that might possibly, because it'd be at the end of June, and I could probably, like, cook at the, either if we had to use, like, the pavilion to hand stuff out, or depending on what, like, the restaurants and stuff said they were willing to help with.
What's your budget look like?
Well, that's what I have to figure out. That's what I need to, once I get a little bit closer and figure out more what the social was, because I have most of the budget, but I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do with this summer yet. That's the problem with everything.
Make a suggestion, Samantha, that you start with signs and get ball roll, and then possibly come back to our next meeting when we have a better idea what's going on in our communities, and go from there.
Okay.
What does everybody think of that?
Sounds good.
That sounds good.
well, what kinds, you talking about signs in front of individual homes or at the Dean Lane Park?
Dean Lane Park, I think it's a great
Yeah,
idea.
Dean Lane.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Me
Yeah.
too. We'd have to ask John, of course, but I think it's a great idea.
And I don't know if Casey will have time to do all that, but there probably
Do
are
that.
places that do that.
We'll talk to him tomorrow.
Money.
I'm off in the morning.
Yeah, that'd be great if he could.
Yeah,
Samantha,
I'll call.
how many signs would that entail? I'm sorry.
Right now I know of 14, but I gotta get the exact numbers of the seniors, because I don't know who went to Johnstown and who went to Broad Albany as well.
It'd be great if Casey could do it. That'd be wonderful.
That would be.
Knowing him, he'll stay up all night just to get that done. So is there anything else, Samantha?
No, that's really all I had, because I can't really get a bunch of kids together right now, which is depressing, because I know a lot of the kids are struggling with it.
Sure they are.
No, absolutely. And so then we'll move on with, we have a library have
Thank-
actually
thank
two
you, Samantha.
recommendations.
Thanks, Samantha.
My apologies. Thank you. The library report. We have two recommendations from the library board. So I'll be looking for approval from you folks, and we copy of the resolutions. The first one, whereas the Lake Pleasant Library Board of Trustees has received a letter of resignation from Tanisha Hines effective May 21st, 2020. Whereas the Lake Pleasant Library Board of Trustees has appointed the hiring of Gary Reinhardt Jr. starting May 5th, 12 hours per week at 12 hours per hour. Whereas the hiring of Reinhardt Jr. Okay. To this. Anybody want to move it?
I so move.
I'll second.
Nancy, okay. All A's? Everybody
Yes.
agree?
Aye.
I probably should have abstained because he's my nephew.
Okay, okay. Any nays? Okay, that's the first one. The second one, whereas the Lake Pleasant Library Board of Trustees recommended Elizabeth Knapp to fill a vacancy, where Elizabeth Knapp's term of office will be May 18th, 2020 till December 30th, 2020. Whereas Pleasant Board has approved the recommendation from the Lake Pleasant Library Board of Trustees for Elizabeth Knapp. Someone like to move that?
I will.
Has he moved it? Don said?
Yep,
Okay. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So then we're going to go ahead and on to old business. Debbie, you want to give the AUD information?
Sure. By town law, I have to advertise in the legal section of the Hamilton County newspaper. So the ad went in this last week's paper, that the annual financial report for the period of January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019 has been filed in my office, where it is a public record, available for inspection by all interested persons. This report has been filed electronically with the New York State Department of Audit and Control per Town Law 29, Section 10, on May 11, 2020 by Nancy Sipes. The town clerk's office is open to the public from 9 to 4 to review this. I have copies made. And you all had a copy too, next to the bills.
Great.
That's it.
Again.
It's a really, really good report.
You had nothing else to do today?
It's a lot of work and very thorough. Very good.
Good job, Nancy.
Thank you.
Can we go backwards, please? I'm just, on the, resolution to hire a part-time aide at the library for the summer. Where is that money coming from? That's gonna be from Tanisha not working, right?
It's just a flip-flop of one employee to the other. The
Yeah.
same amount, every,
Work 12 hours a week, right?
right, correct.
Just wanted to make sure, thank you.
Okay. Next thing is, county doing our payroll and our reports. Nancy and I met with Ben Hunt and Jody today. Our staff will have a minimal amount of extra duties that we'll have to do, that we'll be taking on. Beth did ask for Nancy to work them with the transition to go smoothly, and also through the first pay meeting June 1st, we will have all the information costs and we can have discuss. We're hoping we will be back in the library on June 1st so that we can all sit and do everything and be concerned. As I get the information from the county, I will read up and think about it before our next meeting. So it was a good meeting today, Beth and Jody and Nancy. So now we're on to new business, and I'm going to town historian appointment. I'm going to hit him.
I'm sorry?
Betsy,
Yes.
has the treasurer's office started with Nancy on this transition?
No.
Okay,
No.
because we're gonna need a resolution, right?
Well, yes, but not tonight.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure that, I thought from what it looked like on the agenda, that you were gonna say they had started already, so.
No.
Thank you.
No.
But I believe we don't have a price yet, correct?
We don't have a price. We don't have a
Okay.
price. We have a committee meeting with the county on Friday. So Beth's, proposal will go to the county committee on Friday. They'll hopefully approve it. And then at our June 1st meeting, we can go and discuss it and pass a resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Okey-dokey? You're welcome. Okay, next is a historian appointment, and I'm actually going to turn it over to our personnel committee, Randy and Neil.
Yeah, Randy and I caucused on this earlier in the week, reviewing the candidates that applied for this. Our recommendation is for Aaron Weaver to be hired as our next town historian. And in order to stimulate the conversation, I will so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Any discussion?
Any discussions on that? Yeah, we should discuss it first. Any discussions?
We only had one other person express interest, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
I just was wondering that, the person hired would just get the same budgeted amount then?
That's our thought, that this would be picking up from whatever they hired, going forward pro rata, yes.
Mhm.
Anybody else? So, okay. Any
Call again,
opposed?
Beth?
Yeah, I did. Okay,
Okay.
so Neil, you
Aye.
made the motion, Don second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Okay, so the next thing I have is a resignation letter from County Aird to Supervisor Bain and town members. I regret to inform you that I am resigning from my position as account clerk for the town of Pleasant. As you know, I was injured in a motorcycle accident in Florida on March 11, 2020. I was informed on May 7th that I will need surgery and would take its recovery. Though it would be beneficial for me to move forward and hire someone for the position. If I can be of assistance during this transition, please let me know. I would be glad to help in any way I can. Thank you for the opportunity that you have provided me during the past 3 years. Yours sincerely, Kathleen M. Aird.
When is this effective?
It was effective May 7th.
Was that the date of the letter?
Well, the date she actually did the letter was May 14th. She contacted us on May 7th to tell us that the letter's on its way.
Oh, she told you verbally on May 7th. Okay.
Yes.
No, it doesn't say in the letter, so.
No. No. The letter is dated May 14th. Okay.
I move with
so-
regret that we accept her resignation.
Thank you. Neil, a second? Okay. Okay, all in favor?
I didn't hear who seconded, who seconded?
Chris?
Chris did.
Okay. All in favor?
Betsy, in discussion, I'd just like to conclude, thanking Kathy for her service. This was a terrible accident. I'm glad that she's getting better, and this, I think, for all concerned, because it's gonna be a long recovery, I think it was the right thing to do.
I agree, and now she has heard Bruce is a proud owner of a three-wheel motorcycle.
I
Correct.
can't believe that they're gonna get back on them, but.
Right, Chris.
Either, Chris. Okay, so next is, just want to mention the transfer station.
gotta vote, don't we?
You want to call the vote, Bets?
Call the vote.
Okay,
Oh.
so, who wants the motion?
Neil, and seconded by Chris, to accept the letter that Kathy sent in.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So- Okay. Well, we don't. You're losing. You got me now? It's terrible. Can you hear me now?
A little better.
At the moment.
better. Okay, transfer station. They now, it is Monday from 9 is 10:03.
I can't hear her.
Saturday is 8 to 3. That's open to the public. They're being very
Being very
We
what?
also,
You're breaking up really bad, Betsy.
Well, we've already.
I don't know why. Moving.
Somebody's calling?
Mine.
Are you there, Betsy?
I'm here. I don't
Okay,
know what's
that's-
wrong.
You're
It's better?
good again.
I'm good. I'm gonna stay far away from the computer then. Okay, so now I'm going with the transfer station post, closure monitoring. We received a letter from New York State DEC, which, received and request from GMA, Adirondack Landfill Services. And, we were asking to have a reduction in the number of sample, tests each year. So we are now approved to go, ever hear that?
Up to approved to go.
We were approved to go once a year. Can you hear me?
Testing once a year?
Yes,
Okay.
from twice a year to once a year.
That's better.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
I got a question for Randy on that.
next,
Randy, okay.
To Randy. Does that have to be mowed anymore?
From what I understand, no.
Okay.
The last time I inquired about that, they did not express any concern about mowing it or anything.
Huh, that's funny. That's the reason they're mowing, is to try and keep roots from growing through the barriers on it. I guess you don't worry about that anymore.
Well, it could be done once a year, couldn't it?
It can be. That's easy enough to do. I mean, that we have the mowing machine.
Well, with that stream right there in the back, I think it would be a good idea. Do it once a year, it should be sufficient.
Okay.
What do you think, Don?
We'll do it in August when it's dry, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and we'll take the mower to it.
Thank you.
okay, is there any committee reports? No?
Not
Motion to close?
So moved.
second.
For a second? Any
Second.
discussion?
No.
No discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next is roundtable. Nancy?
Nothing.
Don?
Nope.
Chris?
Have you talked to Andy about the, LoSAP list?
I didn't talk to Andy, I actually talked to one of the firemen,
that actually, and we went through our records and we have all that information, but if we want to officially ask them, I have to actually put some.
Okay, you kept cutting out, so our,
Do you want me to, I can explain, the annual report. In order to do the annual report, we get an actuarial table from, report from the company,
right,
which has all the firemen's information individually in that, and it is reviewed by, the auditor, and that information is included in the annual report.
so it just hasn't been brought before the board for approval? That's not.
Correct, I guess, you know, yeah.
Right, Chris, I think one of the things here is, I think we should do that. I'm glad to see, I've forgotten that about the UAD, having it in there. And that, of course, would include our monetary obligation, as part of the AED. But I think we should get back to having that list. And if we have to request it, from them, if we have to make an in-writing request, we should get it, so that we're compliant.
The law doesn't say anything about an in-writing request, it just says.
No. It sounds like the fire department wants one from us in order to provide.
Okay, I couldn't hear most of what Betsy said, so.
Yeah, I was only getting half of it myself.
They're just
Would
legally
that-
required to submit it.
Would it be at this point after the fact for that, for 19, because now they're working on 20, or, because we already have it through the annual report for 19?
Well, since myself and Don are both new back on the board for 20, I think we should at least ask for the list for 20, and the board would then have it so they could review and approve.
Right, at the end of this calendar year, is that what you mean, once the,
Yeah, it would have to be.
right, because the points are accumulated through a calendar year,
Correct. That
I
works for me.
guess, yeah.
So, we're just gonna head up, we're looking for it at the end of this year.
Well, I think we ought to look at the 2019 report too, and we can always approve it retroactively.
Okay. Okay.
Well, those numbers would be available for sure.
Well, it should be if they're in that actuarial report, and that's filed with Debbie, so.
Did you all get? Oh, okay.
It's not individually
No.
in the annual report, it's a report from that company, and that information always went to Dick Donalfo directly for his review, and then to, the independent auditors to go over in order to reference it in the AUD.
Well, what
There's information
I thought
that,
we were talking about the physical list of each active fireman and how many points they had accumulated during the year. That's not in the actuarial report?
that is, yes,
It is.
yes.
Okay.
I think that's what Chris is referring to, and I think it's a good idea to have that for each year.
Betsy, you have that list in your office right now, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Perhaps we could review it for the next meeting for 2019.
Yep, okay. Okay, we'll get that. Okay, anything else, Chris?
No, thank you.
Okay. Neil,
I'm good, thank you.
do you have anything? Debbie?
No, I'm good.
No.
Yep. Randy?
Nope.
Nancy?
I think you asked me already? Still no.
Sorry.
Still no.
I just want to mention, I hope I don't keep breaking up, but out of this week's testing for the COVID, 283 people in Hamilton County were tested. All
All negative.
Did
All
everybody
negative.
get that? All
That's good
negatives.
news.
I failed?
This-
As usual,
Randy,
Randy, you did negative on the test.
Randy, you can let the guys know tomorrow, whoever was tested.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. I'm looking for a
Move we
motion.
adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second.
And do a second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.